Hello everyone, Seattle Mike Fights with Friends, doing a little preview of this Saturday's show. We got Bellator versus PFL, guys. This one starts real early, and that's a good thing because we got UFC later. So they are not going to run into each other. PFL kudos to them for not making the same mistake that Bellator did over and over and over again. And we just watched that ad nauseum. It was so frustrating to me. Every single week, you would come on and it would be like, oh, a Bellator would finally come on, and it was competing with the UFC. And it's like, do you guys not know how to check when UFC events are on? I mean, it drove me nuts to no end. And I know you guys have already heard me speak about this ad nauseum, so we'll go into this event. But I'm just glad they didn't make the same mistake. Travis Sturchill, what's up, my man? Says Wednesday night fights. Well, we're previewing Saturday night fights, but we're doing a Wednesday stream. I just didn't think even that PFL had done a good enough job to let everyone know exactly what we should be looking forward to this Saturday, because this is an incredible card. This is champion versus champions. This is the best of Bellator versus the best of the PFL. So, this is a super legit card. What's up, Robert Kerrigan? Just me and you, man. He says, hey, we're going to have more people, I think, though. Says there's 3 in here right now. So, there's you and 2 more, because it doesn't count me. So, there's somebody else in here, and I'm sure there will be more in here. But Bellator versus PFL... Like I said, this is a great card, man. It's a very risky card, and I'll go into the negative of that later on in the stream, or what I, see as the potential pitfalls of putting so much of your talent out on one card. But let's, see when there's more people in there. You are the only one in here now, Robert. We'll keep this open though. We'll see how this goes. I think people will come in as we continue to go. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this. I just scheduled it today because I was like, man, I just still don't think people realize how fucking good this card is. So for times, I know I had times down, but let me go to DraftKings. I'll tell you, I think the first fight on the PFL card actually starts at 10:15 a.m. Pacific. So that's 1:15 p.m. of course your time, Robert. UFC is a late one this week. And that might help PFL out. Because see, ESPN has got the UFC and they got PFL. So there's not as much pressure for the UFC to try to beat the PFL. This is, of course, like you said, your PFL versus Bellator. Yes, first match is scheduled for 10:15 a.m. Pacific, 1:15 Eastern. First UFC match is not scheduled until 4:15 Pacific, 7:15 your time. And they're not going to run into each other. The last fight, Ryan Bader versus Renan Ferreira, of the PFL versus Bellator is scheduled to start at 3:15, an hour before the first UFC match. So, a long day for me. But we're going to try and do a 12-hour. I think we're going to start at 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going to run till 10 p.m. Pacific. So, long day there. It's my personal fight preview. I love it. Well, what I'm going to do here then, Robert, since there's not as many people in, so I'm going to run this as a live stream, but for the next however many minutes, I'm going to try to go through and do an entire PFL versus Bellator preview, and then I'll come back to the comments, whether it's just you or other people, but that way I can clip that and make a separate video. So let's do that now. I'm going to go over to the Bellator website here, or excuse me, PFL website now. Wow, super early. I like that. Yeah, we get everything, man. We get so I'll try to timestamp this, or actually I can just start recording. I'm gonna do a hotkey for this record. There we go. That way, this should make an entire video here. Boom, boom. All right. All right, so here we go. Oops. All right, guys. PFL versus Bellator. First fight is starting at 10:15 a.m. Pacific, 1:15 Eastern Time. Champion versus champion. The beginning of this card will be on ESPN Plus. The remainder, the like champ versus champ part, will be on ESPN Pay-Per-View Plus and DAZN Pay-Per-View. So we're going to start from the bottom. This first match is going to be an amateur flyweight bout. I don't know a lot about this Spacella guy, but I guess there's a lot of hype around him. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, though, because I don't know much about him, and I don't think that's what people are tuning in for. Another kind of prelimish fight here. Al-Qatani and Riyahd. Well, we're going to skip right over that to the people you guys know, because Claressa Shields is back. Of course, she's been back in boxing and she's been in MMA, but we got Claressa Shields here at 1-1. She's actually a big favorite in this one, too. Of course, she just lost her first bout recently. But let's head over to her opponent's page here, Kelsey DeSantis. She is 1-2 out of Miami, Florida. She's 35 years old. Like I said, as far as betting, I do like Claressa in this one. I think they're just trying to get her a win, to be honest. Like I said, 1-2 in MMA, and just I don't think there's a lot of risk here for Claressa, and I think that's exactly the point of this. So let's go back out to Claressa. Everybody knows Claressa Shields, though. We'll click on her. Of course, 1-1 in MMA. Number 1 pound for pound women's boxer out of Flint, Michigan. 28 years old. So she's 7 years younger than her opponent. I believe this fight will be at 145 pounds. They have her listed at 155. That is no longer a division that the PFL, from my understanding, will be using now that their star is gone, Kayla Harrison. So they've traded kind of one star for another. They got Francis Ngannou now, but this is their first big card and their first pay-per-view without Kayla. So this is a big test for the PFL. I know their new CEO over there thinks that they're going to compete with the UFC and stuff. I mean, I'm not so sure, to be honest, but we'll see. Competition is good. I believe competition is better for everybody, better for the fighter pay, better for the fans, just better for the sport overall. So that's your first match. Your second match at lightweight is Ali Wash taking on Pasalias. This guy's in his MMA debut, so honestly, I'm going to skip over that one too. But this is a fucking banger. This one right here, an incredible fight. You got Henry Corrales at 21-7. I mean, just a mainstay forever in Bellator. He's taken on the prospect Aaron Pico. No longer such a prospect. Of course, he was, considered a prospect for years. Now he's a little more of a veteran. Remember, this guy, Bellator was paying him while he was in college. This was like one of their first big investments in their future was Aaron Pico. Pico now 12-4, coming off that shoulder surgery. Henry Corrales, this is a guy that just pushes the pace. He sets an insane pace, and look at the odds on this one. So I'm going to go over to the PFL versus Bellator odds for this one, because this might be one that's interesting betting on. Pico's a minus 455 favorite. Henry Corrales is a plus 350. Henry Corrales in this fight is what I would describe as a value underdog. I like Corrales in this fight. I think he has a very, very good chance of winning it. Aaron Pico, prone to injury. Yes, he's explosive. He makes a lot of mistakes, though. And he's coming in here against a super, super high energy guy that always brings it. Like I said, if I had to pick straight up, this is close to a damn coin flip. But if I got to bet on someone, Henry Corrales all day, every day. All right, let's go to the next one here. We got Clay Collard. He has been absolutely sensational since he got into the PFL. Victories, over Anthony Pettis, Jeremy Stevens, won a PFL $1 million tournament, I believe. This is your champ versus champ, because you got a PFL champ, and you got one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet, I believe, in AJ McKee. 21-1. I don't think he lost the one fight that they said he lost to Patricio Pitbull. I mean, yeah, it was a good fight, but I thought he won both fights against Patricio. He knocked him out the first time, and then the decision, I gave it to AJ McKee there. But if you're going to have one loss, I mean, your loss to Patricio Pitbull Fajea, that's a good loss to have. Let's go into the next one here. I don't know how many of you guys knew this was coming, but we got a light heavyweight juggernaut match. Two guys that have fought at middleweight at times. Yoel Romero, of course, spent most of his career at middleweight. All his fights over in the UFC, he fought at middleweight. Thiago Santos, of course, the guy that pushed John Jones to the limit, had a great career in the UFC. And these guys are a little older now, but I cannot wait to see them face off against each other. Are you kidding me? Thiago Santos and Yoel Romero. This is an amazing matchup. So let's go up. Next fight here, we got Bruno Capoloza, PFL champion, season champion. Finished a bunch of guys, was super impressive. He's been much better in the PFL than he was at any point in his career. He's taken on Vadim Nemkov. Vadim Nemkov, absolute stud. I thought he was one of the best light heavyweights on the planet. He is moving up to heavyweight. Now I think we realize maybe why he relinquished his light heavyweight championship, because it didn't really make sense at first. 17-2, the guys, I said, just incredible competition across the board. And now he's moving up to heavyweight. I'm assuming that he relinquished that belt because he didn't want to be forced to make the 205 limit anymore. I didn't think he was a big light heavy to begin with, but maybe it's more of a challenge thing. And you guys got to remember, Francis Ngannou is signed with the PFL now, so maybe they're just looking to get as many heavyweights as they can. Next match up, multi-time PFL champion Ray Cooper III. This guy's got some incredible wins on his resume. Of course, over Jake Shields towards the end of Jake's career. Defeated Magomed Karimov, the former champion of PFL, knocked him out. He's taking on Jason Jackson, a guy that's as hot as anybody in the sport. This is going to be a catchweight fight. But, of course, he won that championship against a undefeated at the time, Yaroslav Amosov. And Jason Jackson, I imagine, should come in a big favorite into this one. So odds on Thiago Santos and Yoel Romero. Thiago Santos is a minus 130 favorite. Romero, the plus 110 dog. AJ McKee, by the way, a minus 310 favorite. Clay Collard, plus 250 on the underdog there. Vadim Nemkov, a huge favorite at minus 575. I would not touch that as far as betting. Bruno Capoloza, plus 425 underdog. This one, Ray Cooper is a huge underdog. He's a plus 440 against Jason Jackson, minus 600. Still not super interested in betting on that fight, though, to be honest. Jason Jackson's just been so hot. I know Ray Cooper, I mean, he's a great fighter. For the most part, I don't think he's fought as tough a competition, though. And Jason Jackson is just, he's as hot as it gets right now. Next fight here, we got Bellator's champion. Just failed in his bid to become the first 3-weight champion in a major organization. Of course, he's been the lightweight champion, the featherweight champion. He went down, tried to take the flyweight championship from Sergio Pettis. Flyweight, no, sorry, I believe it's the bantamweight. I'm not sure they have a flyweight over there in Bellator. Anyways, Pitbull coming into this 35-7. You guys know the name Pitbull. I mean, he's been around forever. He's beaten the who's who in MMA. He's taken on Gabriel Alves Braga, and the odds are a little closer on this than you might think. Pitbull a minus 166 favorite. The 12-1 Gabriel Alves Braga is a plus 140. So, I like Pitbull in that one. That's a value bet for me, but I would look a little more into Braga before I made that bet. Johnny Eblen, possibly the best middleweight in the world. And I don't say that lightly, and I'm 100% serious when I say that. Possibly the best middleweight in the world. I know you got Sean Strickland, you got Dricus du Plessis, you got Israel Adesanya. This guy, I think, could hang in there with every single one of them. Johnny Eblen, 14-0, dominated former champion Gegard Mousasi, dominated his last championship run. The guy's just an absolute stud, taking on PFL's Impa Kasanganay, of course, a former UFC fighter, won the PFL championship. Eblen comes in a big favorite. No surprise in this one. Minus 535 for Johnny Eblen. If you're looking for underdog money on Impa, Impa's going to get you plus 400. Not my favorite bet in the world, though. And that brings us to the main event, a truly champ versus champ matchup. Renan Ferreira, the winner of the last PFL season at heavyweight, taking on Ryan Bader. Ferreira 12-3, Bader 31-7. This is a pick 'em on the odds right now. Ferreira actually was a slight favorite there for a while. The odds went back and forth. It is a minus 110 pick 'em at the moment. So that's going to be your card here. Let's go to the chat. I know we've had a few people in and out. Doesn't look like a whole lot. What's up, Adam from Allen? Shame Nevkov never went UFC route. What's going on, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights? Good to see you, my man. Yeah, cheers, buddy. My personal fight preview. I love it. Yeah, this pretty much was your personal show, Robert. I guess I need to schedule these further in advance. I did expect to see more people than this in here. I don't know. Notifications didn't go out or, exactly what happened there, but if we got something out of this. Robert, at least you know that the PFL versus Bellator. Robert, Adam, Daniel. So 10:15 a.m., 1:15 Eastern, Bellator versus PFL will kick off from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The other part of this is the UFC will start about an hour after this ends. So the last match for Bellator versus PFL is scheduled for 3:15 Pacific, 6:15 Eastern. The first UFC bout, it's a late one, is scheduled for 4:15 Pacific, 7:15 Eastern. ESPN maybe worked that out between UFC and PFL so they're not competing with each other. I think at least that's going to be a good thing. I think both of those guys being on the same network, because ESPN's going to be like, no, why are we paying for both of you guys if people can only watch one at a time? Doesn't really make sense. So I'm glad they're putting them at separate times. So we'll have a 12-hour stream. We're going 10 to 10 at least. 10 a.m. to probably at least 10 p.m. or whenever that UFC card ends. Main card doesn't start until 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So, man, it's going to be a long one. I really hope there's more people for this one than there is for this little live stream. What's up, Seven? Let's get it on, boss. Hype for Romero versus Santos. Oh, Romero versus Santos. That's a slick fight, man. I know Santos had that injury, but he's a little younger than Romero. And so that just may even things up. And Romero, now that he's a light heavyweight, of course, he doesn't have to worry about that big cut. I imagine this is going to be a 3-rounder. I know Romero's not really big on fighting these 3-rounders. He's been wanting to fight all 5-rounders. But, maybe he's going to get what he gets, I guess. Here's a couple of things I'll say about this card while we're on here, though. So, Bellator versus PFL, great card. The pay-per-view, $49.95. For today, that's a fair price. I'd have probably put her at $29.95, but I get they got salaries to pay. There's different things to do, and the UFC is now up to $75, so it's still $25 less, and you get a packed card. This event totally worth it to me, though. Totally worth it, I believe, to pay for this for $50. Hell yeah. What's up, Wyatt? How old is Romero now? Late 40s, like 46, 40. How old is Yoel Romero? 46, yeah. How old is Thiago Santos? So Thiago's 40. So yeah, 6-year difference between them, but the ageless Yoel Romero, I mean, I think we're going to get another good performance out of him. Remember, Randy Couture was 46 years old when he won the heavyweight championship in the UFC. So I hope there's something left there for Yoel Romero. Risks for Bellator PFL coming into this. PFL is running Bellator as a standalone promotion. I guess they're going to continue to do Bellators at least for the next 2 years. That's what they have said anyways. We'll see if it lasts that long. I'm a little worried even though they just lost Bellator or just bought Bellator, I'm still a little worried about them being deep enough to continue to put on enough cards to compete with the UFC when you have so much of your talent on one card. It reminds me of Affliction, honestly. It reminds me of Affliction was a quick one. Of course, Strikeforce lasted a little longer. Elite XC, that's another one that was just a couple events and done. So they're spending a ton of money on one event. I don't know what the salaries are going to be, but the salaries have to be really high for this one. This is at least $5 million. I bet you they're putting out at least $5 million in salary for this card. So they got their live gate. I don't know how many pay-per-views they're going to have to sell, but they're going to have to sell some if they want to make their money back. Thanks, Robert. I love how Randy's nickname was the Natural. Dude was just rubbing it in. I like that. That's hilarious. Yeah, big test. Like I said, for the PFL, they have to sell pay-per-views. And they have to sell them in an era that is... Even the UFC has a hard time selling pay-per-views. They're not doing million buy pay-per-views anymore. They're not even posting their numbers for pay-per-view sales anymore. Really. So, I don't know how this is going to do for them. But I don't know if I would put all my talent on one card like this. I know they are going to start their season up soon. They'll have their PFL Europe shows coming up. This one's the Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So I'm sure, Saudi Arabia's probably, writing them a real good check for this one. They've been throwing out a lot of money at boxers in any sport that they can buy. So, this might end up being worth it for him. But like I said, the roster's not looking real strong, in my opinion, after you put this many guys out there. Like in between the two, they might have a lot of talent, but as you can see, there's not a lot of big names. First pay-per-view without Kayla Harrison, of course, will be fighting on UFC 300. And then you got this pay-per-view without Francis Ngannou. Who knows if and when Francis is even going to fight in MMA again. He basically, most people thought he won his first fight against Tyson Fury. Now he's got a scheduled match against Anthony Joshua coming up. What's his incentive to fight MMA again? I imagine he might get in there just to do it, just like one MMA match, maybe two at the most with PFL. I would be surprised if he ever fights for PFL more than twice before he retires. That would be very surprising to me. PFL needs to put all their money into production. Camera work, my God, is it awful. Oh, agreed, man. They should... I don't know, hopefully they got some talent from Bellator, because the one thing Bellator was getting was damn good production over there at Showtime. Maybe that had something to do with Showtime, because Showtime Boxing always had great promotion. I thought only second to HBO Boxing After Dark, which, of course, not around anymore. But hopefully somebody from Bellator knows a little bit about camera work and giving some ideas. Because, yeah, they're kind of all over the place. And not really knowing what of all these different statistics to use. They talk about a lot of statistics that nobody cares about. From the casual to the hardcore MMA fan, like, nobody cares about these stats. Like, they're posting, like, 66 mile an hour was the fastest punch thrown in that round. The fastest kick thrown was 72 miles per hour, whatever, I just really don't think anybody cares about those stats. You guys can tell me if you care about them. Maybe I'm wrong, so let me know if you guys do care about them, but I don't think that's something that anybody cares about. I don't care about it. I don't care about it at all. The first time it was kind of cool. It's like, okay, how fast is a really fast MMA punch? But we've seen that on Fight Science. We've seen it. The UFC's done a few tests and stuff, and it's not going to make your league by putting up stats like that. I do like the season format, as a fan. I'm not sure it's the best format for their organization, though, with injuries and having guys fight so many times a year, and the points get really confusing to the fans, and I think they just have a hard time holding on to people. Who's Nagano even going to fight in PFL? Bader Fajeda? I'd bet on Nagano to beat them back-to-back in the same night. Dead serious. Oh, I would too. Because I think he knocks out the first guy in the first round, then he probably knocks out the second guy in the first round. So, I mean, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of work for Francis to take both those guys out, in my opinion. So, all right, guys, I just wanted to get that out there real quick. A quick Bellator versus PFL live preview. Not a lot of people in here, so I think I'm going to take some time and post a video on this as well. I was going to do it from this live stream, but I think I'm going to go out and make a separate video because it didn't come out quite like I wanted it to. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Like I said, 12-hour stream this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whenever the UFC finishes up. Unless we're talking baseball or racing miles per hour, shouldn't matter in any other sport. Yeah, you don't see stats in basketball. You don't see, oh man, LeBron James threw this pass at 68 miles an hour. That's a good point, Robert. Nobody gives a shit. NFL, you don't even see it. And I think there'd be more interest in seeing how fast, Patrick Mahomes maybe threw a spiral over the end zone, into the end zone over how fast they punch or a kick is. No worries. Thanks for being here, Robert, Wyatt, Daniel, Adam from Allen, just Travis Sturcho, just a few of us today. But I'll be doing something else before the Saturday stream, too. We'll have some videos up. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses next time.